An interesting start to the week. It is episode 183 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always. Looking at last episode, my Flames game that bet the only NHL game on Monday got postponed. We'll talk a little bit more on why later. And then I ended up going 1-3. I mean, the Warriors, I did jump on that line early because Steph Curry did play in Indiana. However, they still did not end up covering. And then the Cardinals -2.5. The Rams played a really good game on Monday night.
Yeah, that was a fun football game for sure, Higgins. Although, how about the Cardinals losing DeAndre Hopkins for the rest of the regular season with a leg injury? So that is tough. Higgins, I lost my Levy lock. I said everyone goes into Toronto and gets a dub, but the Kings couldn't do it, Higgins. Coach ends up...
They're fine with going through customs.
Yeah, the customs theory didn't work out for us.
It was busted right away.
Busted right away. But Alvin Gentry ends up going under COVID protocols, so... You know, that's a tough loss for the Kings as well. Back-to-back tough losses for the Kings. Lose the game, lose your coach.
But you did win your hockey bet that was 2 days out. Gotta give you your props there. You don't take many hockey bets that are multiple days out. I lost my Kraken over in that one. That's still an automatic play for me, though. I'm still going to be jumping on the over whenever the Kraken are playing, at least until it continues to calm down, because they're still the number one in the NHL.
All right, number one in the NHL, so you got to play it until it stops paying, Higgins.
Yeah, but let's jump into Beginner's Boulevard. You and I hinted at it a little bit in terms of some of the results of what happened to our previous bets, but COVID betting strategies, because as we get into the winter and we get into these holidays, the COVID tests, there are more positive results that seem to be popping up. The Flames game on Monday was postponed because of COVID. Brett, you said the Sacramento Kings, their coach caught COVID. There's a lot of late lineup shifts going on, lots of late scratches even, and it really impacts these lines heavily.
Yeah, I mean, we go back just to Tuesday night, Higgins. The Brooklyn Nets lose Paul Millsap on Monday. Then Tuesday morning, they lose 4 more guys. Then Tuesday evening, right before tip, they lose 2 more. And one of them is James Harden. Then you go advance, you look at the wider scale here, Higgins. You go to the NFL. Monday, they have a league high amount of players test positive. Tuesday, they break the record. So, 75 players in the NFL test positive between Monday and Tuesday. And then, of course, you get like the occasional, we'll call him a superstar for purposes of this conversation, right? But like a Keenan Allen actually comes off the COVID list. So you're just getting news all ways around. You got to follow the regular injury news, Higgins. So you got to keep up with Hopkins' leg and Lamar's ankle and Josh Allen's foot. I mean, there is so much to follow at this time. The Bulls are postponed games. You mentioned a postponed hockey game. We're seeing lowered crowd capacities in Ontario, meaning for the Ottawa Senators and Raptors and Maple Leafs. So these are all things that are going to impact the outcomes of some of these games, Higgins.
And it's going to change these lines a lot as we get to some closing lines and closing line values before they go live. Brett, the way I've been kind of working with these COVID decisions and late scratches is I'm basically putting my blinders on, to be honest. I'm just betting the analytics of the teams. I'm saying, okay, these teams have done this record so far this season. I'm backing the analytics. A team is bigger than one player. But to a point that you made in right before we started recording, some of these games, it's not one player, it's 5 or 6 players.
Yeah, it could be brutal for some of these teams. I mean, we see 9 Rams go on the COVID list in one day. We've seen like half of, or more than half probably, if the Dolphins running backs end up on the COVID list. So like, in football, you have these team meeting rooms, and then all of a sudden, the whole meeting room gets knocked out. So it could be brutal in some of these sports. And Wednesday we get news that the Browns, Baker Mayfield's out COVID, head coach out COVID. I mean, talk about the two most important positions in football, probably head coach and quarterback.
And if you think about what's ahead, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's, traditionally times when families get together and you have big gatherings potentially. So in terms of sights ahead, I just see potentially additional concerns in terms of more COVID possibilities. But like I said, I'm putting a blinders on. At least I'm still making some podcast picks. My social media picks, those are going to be a lot more close to closing time value and maybe even some live picks. But Brett, I am still going to be making some picks a few days out ahead.
Higgins, I give you some credit, going out, sticking your neck out there. Probably going to give us some bad takes. Not your fault, right? Someone's going to get COVID.
They'll just get stale.
Look, someone's going to get COVID before before a bowl game. Someone's going to get COVID before NFL Sunday. There's nothing we can do about it. We just got to hope we're not on the side that gets burned, right? But look, in all seriousness, Higgins, we care about everyone's health and safety first and foremost. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a scary time in all these leagues. You do not want to see these guys getting sick. You're hopeful that a lot of them are vaxxed or, have their booster and, have some protection against this disease. But, yeah, this was a disease that, took a lot of lives, Higgins. So it's important, we keep it in perspective, but we also got to keep it light. We're a sports podcast. We're not, CNN or CNBC here.
Yes, I mean, to your points right there. One, we wish nothing but health and safety to all the players in these games, no matter what sports we're talking about. But two, the other side of it, this is a dangerous disease. It eclipsed 800,000 deaths in the U.S. recently, and it is something that you have to be aware of. We are a sports betting podcast trying to give value about the betting lines, and it would be ignorant on our side to ignore the elephant in the room that is COVID, that clearly does have an impact on the lines that we're talking about. But, Brett, let's move into these lines and start talking about some of them. I want to first get into the NHL because those are some of the closest lines that we have available. I looked, I couldn't find NBA lines on Wednesday night. Maybe that's because there's a huge Wednesday NBA slate, but there are some Thursday games, and one that I like is this game between the Flyers and the Montreal Canadiens. The Philadelphia Flyers, they've had a tumultuous start to the season. I mean, they fired a coach, they had quite the losing streak, but they recently snapped that, and it was with 3 quality wins. They got a win on the road against the Vegas Golden Knights. They got a must-win against the Arizona Coyotes, and then they came back home and they got a win against the New Jersey Devils 6-1 after having just lost in New Jersey 4 games prior. So Philadelphia now travels to Montreal, and I think the Flyers are going to take this 3 games. They're going back on the road. They're going to get a nice little win here against a Montreal team that has only 6 wins on the season. So I'm taking the Flyers on the money line, minus 135. Not anything fancy. Not going to go with the plus 185 puck line. Not going to press my luck. Just taking the favored money line team here.
Yeah, I think that's a solid bet, Higgins. I think, in this situation, because you're picking the road team here, it could be a real live opportunity for you. Maybe Montreal scores first, goes up 1-0, and you can swoop in and get Philadelphia at a better number. But, we're a sports betting podcast. You found value in the pregame number. I'm not going to kill you for it. But I do like that in hockey. I find in game, the lines move probably the most. Like, there's the most rapid line movement.
There is a lot.
And, because it's so volatile, I do think there's opportunity to beat the books. When a dog takes an early lead, I think we've watched enough hockey, Higgins, to know that the first and second period are nice, but it's really all about the third period.
I think in sports with goals where it's a low scoring game like soccer or hockey, live betting does have tremendous value like that. That's partly why we see Europeans betting primarily live bets. They don't bet pre-match a lot. They bet live primarily with soccer bets over there. Hockey, I like to get the pregame value, but I absolutely agree. Live value in hockey, it can swing greatly, especially right after a goal happens. You can get some great early value on the team that just went down by a goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of times you could see in a hockey game an underdog score first. All of a sudden, that value switches, and you get an edge on the book there.
Yes, Brett. Now, like I said, the NBA, we don't have any lines for it on Thursday, and that's partly because there's only about 5 games going on. I'll be looking at them, might post something on social media for them. Don't really have anything right now, but I still am leaning towards that Warriors outright championship play that we talked about last episode. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but they get Clay back, those odds are going to drop dramatically. And even if I cash it out later, I think you'll be able to at least get some partial money back once Clay returns, if it is at any level towards the hopes people have of him being able to contribute with that team.
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say the Warriors are contenders because you imagine you get 80% of Clay back. That's a pretty good addition to that lineup. I like them. I like the Lakers to probably figure it out for the postseason. I think they're built for the postseason. The goal in the regular season is just to get through it healthy. Look, Higgins, I think we got to talk about the Phoenix Suns. They just continue to impress and win and win. I think it's interesting because Devin Booker is expected to be back anytime over the next 2 weeks. So he was seen working out pregame last night. That's a good sign. So, look, I think Phoenix is a team that doesn't get enough respect. They're not a team I'm ready to put over the Lakers just because, I've seen LeBron do it over and over again in the postseason. I've seen Westbrook win an MVP. I've seen Anthony Davis, although it was in the bubble, win a championship. These are guys that have been there, done that. The Golden State, same thing. So you kind of have to, I guess, what do you say, slay the dragon, to get the crown. And, I think the dragon's still alive, Higgins.
Well, you mentioned the top 3 teams from the Western Conference in terms of odds with the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Suns. And it's interesting, Brett, at least out here on the West Coast, if you take a look at an Oregon sportsbook, the Warriors, they're still plus 600. The Nets, they're the favorite right now at plus 240. Then it goes Warriors plus 600, Bucks plus 750, Lakers plus 900, and then the Suns plus 950. So the Lakers and Suns out here in terms of odds, they're neck and neck. And I think you're right. The Lakers are built for the playoffs, but they still have to be healthy when it comes to the playoffs. And they have a lot of age on that roster. This Suns team, they made quite the push last year. My only worry was last year was their opportunity with CP3. But they are, to your point, shocking everybody still and playing some really quality basketball. Right behind the Suns, though, in terms of outright odds, the Jazz. Now, Rudy Gobert is playing fantastic, averaging basically 15 and 15 so far to start the season. But I don't know if I quite think the Jazz have enough firepower to compete against those other 3 in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I will say the one nice thing about the Jazz, it's kind of a true, real home court advantage where playing at altitude
Absolutely.
is going to affect
Absolutely
the
it
other
is.
team no matter what. So, having that built in is a little bit of a nice advantage.
Yes. Let's talk about one more NBA game, Brett. Shift into our moneyline magic. Talk about a game that already happened, and you even briefly mentioned it at the top because there was a late scratch with James Harden in this game. That meant it was the Kevin Durant show for the Brooklyn Nets, and the Nets Raptors actually went to overtime. The Nets led much through the second and third quarter, but Toronto grabbed a 191 lead going into the fourth quarter, and there would be 4 lead changes and 2 ties, ultimately sending it to overtime. The fourth quarter was an absolute battle.
Higgins, I want you to look at the Nets roster, and I'll give you $1 for every player you knew existed past, I don't know, we'll say past Blake Griffin. So, like, I'm going to assume you knew Nick Claxton existed. I'm going to assume you knew Patty Mills existed. Blake Griffin and Kevin Durant. They're all.
LaMarcus Aldridge?
I don't think he played in that game. I think
No, but he's on the roster. He's on the roster.
Oh no, I'm talking about player because we had. Wait till I tell you the names of the Nets that played in this game. You ready,
Okay.
Higgins? Walker Kessler, David Duke Jr. Nope, not that David Duke Jr. A different one.
Okay.
A one with a 40-inch vertical. Really athletic kid.
Wow.
Played really well. Cam Thomas. Nope, that's an actual person, not just 2 names I threw together. First round pick for the Nets this year, so promising young player, really good high school career at Oak Hill, all-time leading scorer for a school that produced quite a good amount of NBA players, including our guy Carmelo Anthony Higgins. So
yes.
he can score the basketball, but these are not your household Brooklyn Nets here.
No, but also the Raptors are not filled with household names either, so it was just a very interesting game. It was not what most people expected to see if they were going to a Brooklyn Nets game in Brooklyn, though. I mean, you got Kevin Durant, you got Blake Griffin, but that was about it. And heading into overtime, the Toronto Raptors, they'd take an early lead, they'd score 4 quick points, but the Nets would then score 8 straight, ultimately hold on to the lead and win 131 to 129. So even though they had some help from some guys you might not know, they were able to get the win. And at the end of the season, it doesn't say how you got the W. It just says whether or not you got the W.
Yeah, this game, Higgins, raises tons of concerns, red flags, alarms, whatever you want to do for me. Kevin Durant had a borderline an injury that was going to borderline keep him out for the game. He was supposed to test it at pregame warm-up, see how he was feeling. Without him, the Nets weren't going to be able to play, so he says
he had a triple-double.
Exactly. He plays 48 minutes, Higgins. I mean, he's playing 48 minutes on a bum ankle in December. That is not what you drew up if you are the Brooklyn Nets. So you're very glad you got the win, but you have to be nervous with all these COVID problems here, with all their regular injuries to guys like Joe Harris. Like, they gotta get healthy, and they need to get healthy soon, because you cannot be playing Kevin Durant 48 minutes a night all season long.
I'm pretty sure a healthy roster is what's on their Christmas list. Absolutely. But Brett, the NBA, we've talked plenty about that. Let's go and talk about some college football, because we got some bowl games. And on Thursday, they got some warm weather. One of them is the Bahamas Bowl. And I mean, Middle Tennessee, Toledo, got to feel nice to be in the Bahamas right now.
That Thursday or Friday?
Oh, sorry, that's a Friday game. That's a Friday game.
That's what I thought. I thought I was looking at something
My
wrong.
apologies.
Good.
You're right. There's 2 Friday games, and then we got some Saturday games as well.
You're good. Yeah, no, I'm very excited for bowl season to kick off here, Higgins. Normally I'd be all over this, but look, we've got guys traveling to Boca Raton. We've got guys traveling to the Bahamas. We've got guys traveling to LA and New Mexico and, wherever the hell the Lending Tree Bowl is, right? So we got people traveling all over the country here, Higgins. we've seen in pro sports the COVID rates rising here, so I'm going to hold off until day of until we get those last minute injury reports. It's so hard to get information from college athletics. The athletic departments hold it so tight to the chest and don't want us gamblers to get the information early. But Higgins, we're going to need it to place informed wagers. But you're going to try and beat the books here. You're going to try and give some informed takes using the analytics here.
Well, so there's one Friday game that I do like. That's the Northern Illinois Coastal Carolina game. And Brett, you and I love some action. So how can I avoid
Love the
a game that has the MAC? It's got Coastal Carolina, who's always entertaining to watch. And we've got two very entertaining quarterbacks. We got Rocky Lombardi on one side, who transferred away from the big Power Five and to Northern Illinois. And then we got Grayson McCall, who says he's coming back to college next year, but there's murmurs it might not be to Coastal Carolina. Both these guys are playing in this game, though, at least so they say. And they've led some very explosive offenses. The Huskies are averaging 31 points per game. Chanticleer's 40 points per game. I think this is going to be an offensive spectacle. It's going to be a fun game to watch. It's in Orlando. It's going to be some nice weather. It's going to be 85 degrees, apparently, according to AccuWeather. I'm taking over 63 in this, over 63 and a half. Can't forget the hook. Over 63 and a half in this one. And I'm rooting for offense, baby. That's all I need.
Offense, yeah, exactly. If you're going to be on the second bowl game of the year, might as well get it started with a little offense, Higgins. And then, obviously, we got a big slate on Saturday. Some fun games. But I guess BYU, probably the biggest team playing on Saturday, the number 13 ranked team in the country. Only 6.5-point favorites against UAB. That is a fishy line, Higgins, and it has me thinking I should be all over UAB because why the heck is the number 13 team in the country only 6.5-point favorites?
I agree entirely. I don't really understand that line either. But Brett, Saturday's games, you just jumped right over the fact that one of your favorite bowl games that's fresh and new this year, the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, is on Saturday. That's your bowl. So Utah State versus Oregon State. That's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, that's the best bowl game. I imagine they're going to have the best bowl game gifts, Higgins, which is all anyone cares about. Like, wait, you think you get tickets to the Jimmy Kimmel show? You think you get a segment on the Jimmy Kimmel show?
Is that the halftime show? Is the Jimmy Kimmel show?
Ooh, that could be interesting. Does Jimmy Kimmel coach Utah State in the first half and Oregon State in the second half?
Something happens. I don't know, but I haven't picked a side for this yet, but the PUBG New Mexico Bowl, that is a game that has my interest on Saturday. It's between UTEP and Fresno State. And Brett, on the East Coast, you might not have seen what was going on, but did you see the news with Jake Haener, the quarterback for Fresno State, and how he went into the transfer portal, was going to go back to Washington, where he apparently started his college career, and then, in the unorthodox move, filmed a sit-down 2-minute interview apologizing to the Bulldog fans, rescinding his entry into the transfer portal, saying he's going to remain with Fresno State. What is happening at FSU? I have no idea, and it makes me curious about this game.
Yeah, so they promoted the coach, I want to say the offensive coordinator, maybe the quarterback coach, to head coach, Higgins. So people thought they was going to leave with the Fresno State head coach, go to Washington. That was like in the rumor mill or his crystal ball or whatever. He never announced anything. He comes out of the transfer portal after Fresno State, keeps his guy in place, promotes his guy, his main man, and he says, you know what? I'm rolling with my coach. He made me who I am. He made me the player I am. And we're going to go win the Mountain West here next year, Higgins. That's what we're going to do.
And Fresno State played some very impressive games earlier in this year. Some may already forget the very impressive 40-37 win they got over UCLA. It was a money line magic for us a few months back. But then the week later, they got a big win over UNLV as well. They also beat a ranked San Diego State team. This Fresno State team is good. Just all of that chaos that happened with the quarterback and the transfer mill. I got to wait till closer to game time. I'm just worried there's more news that's going to come out about the Bulldogs.
All right. Nope. Fair enough, Higgins. But let's get to the NFL games because those are the big games. And look, we've seen a lot of COVID issues, Higgins. My personal advice, wait until Sunday morning to place these bets. But if you want to try and beat some lines, Higgins, why don't you give us our best takes here?
Well, so Thursday night, we got the Chiefs at the Chargers, an AFC West game that both these teams' offenses have gotten in gear and they've started moving really well. And it speaks to the over because of how we've seen these two offenses play, right?
Yeah, and
Wrong.
Higgins, I gotta be
Wrong.
honest.
It's the under. It's the under.
It's the
I'm
under.
taking the under because 52, I don't buy it. The defenses are going to show up this time. That's how the Chiefs have won, hanging their hat on their defense.
That's what I was going to say when you were asking me, like, the offenses. I was like, well, I got to be honest. I don't think the Chiefs' offense is so good. But you cut me off, and you said, no, it's the under. And I was like, oh, okay.
It was a trap, and I caught you.
It was a trap. It's a trap. No, yeah, I agree 100%. And Higgins, I guess I gave bad info because I said I'd wait for Sunday morning if you want to bet these games, but obviously a Thursday night game, you can't wait till Sunday morning. And also there's some Saturday
football. It'd be nice if you
football.
could wait till Sunday to bet on Thursday.
My record would be a lot better.
If you find a sports book that does that, let me know.
Please. Thank
Yes.
you. Actually, just call us directly. We'll post our number.
But you're right. There also are 2 Saturday games. We're starting to get some Saturday NFL as well, Brett. And I have a feeling that, this is the week that a lot of fantasy football leagues are starting playoffs. There's going to be some top seed in a fantasy league that's going to forget that there's 2 games on Saturday, and they're going to leave out somebody that's going to have a big game. Jonathan Taylor's going to be on their bench because he was in a bye last week or something.
Ooh, maybe. That would be interesting. So definitely something to alert the fantasy owners on. But we've got the Raiders and the COVID-plagued Browns, and we've got the Patriots and the Colts on Saturday because technically the college football season's over, although it is bowl season, Higgins, which we just got done talking about and you and I are excited for. But the NFL doesn't care about bowl season. They said, nope, no. Saturday NFL.
Saturday NFL. And since we got some Saturday NFL, a little bit different, shaking up the scheduling a little bit, who do you trust more than Bill Belichick to keep his team focused to play on Saturday instead of Sunday? The New England Patriots, they're coming off a bye just like the Colts are, so it's not an advantage for Indianapolis that they're coming off a bye because their opponent is as well. And Belichick off a bye is surgical. Always has been. When you give him 2 full weeks to prepare for a game, he does not disappoint. So Patriots plus 125, playing on a Saturday, coming off of a bye, it just makes up for all of the ingredients of back Bill's team.
Yeah, I think that is good points, Higgins, and I think it's you're to get the Patriots as dogs at this point in the season. They're playing really well. I think that's a good find there. As we turn
7 straight wins, and they're dogs too.
Yeah, exactly. I think it speaks to what people think about Jonathan Taylor, but I'm with you. I think New England that's a good number for.
But does Mac Miller throw more than 3?
Mac Miller, ooh.
Sorry, does Mac Jones throw more than 3?
Yes, he throws more than. I can guarantee that he does that in the first quarter.
Okay.
Higgins, as we turn the page to Sunday, There are a lot of double-digit spreads on Sunday. We got the Cowboys, 11-point favorites over the Giants. Cardinals, 12.5-point favorites over the Lions. Jets, 10-point dogs to the Dolphins. Yuck. And the Bills, 11-point favorites over the Panthers. Higgins, I gotta
Can't
be
forget about Sunday
honest.
night either. Sunday night, Bucks -11 over the Saints too.
There you go, Higgins. Oh, so 5 of them. Wow, that's crazy. Higgins, I gotta be honest. I think if I were to bet early, if I were to be betting on a Wednesday, Thursday type deal here for these Sunday games, I think I would take all 5 double-digit underdogs, and I
Ooh.
bet you would cash 4-1.
Okay. Would you sprinkle it in as a parlay too?
No, I would have no interest in it. There's no way all 5 are hitting, right?
Yeah.
Someone's not going to show up. It's going to work out.
Giants.
But
Giants
but
won't show
look,
up.
these leave backdoor covers open. These leave tight games open. These leave money line upsets open. I mean, 12.5 points between the Cardinals and the Lions. We saw the Cardinals play a team that got stricken with COVID on early in the week. Who's to say the Cardinals don't come down with COVID late in the week? And you're going to lay 12.5 on this early in the week? No way. Give me the Lions if I'm betting this early.
And Brett, there's nearly a 6th game that's double-digit points too, because Falcons 49ers is a 9.5-point spread in favor of San Francisco. So, I mean, just a lot of wide spreads this week in the NFL. Absolutely Sunday does not sound entertaining according to Vegas.
Yeah, it might be a good, I guess you could go Christmas tree shopping or something, Higgins.
Get your, if you have not got your Christmas shopping done yet, this might be the Sunday to go out and not watch some football and do it according to Vegas, because there's 6 games that might not be that competitive. But there is one game that I do at least like a little bit. The Packers and the Ravens are facing off against each other, and the Packers, I mean, they're 11-2 against the spread this year. So -5 against Baltimore, who Baltimore's not necessarily running on all cylinders. They've had some tough losses. They've had some close losses. I think the Packers are still going to get it done here. I think they'll cover the full 5. And, I mean, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon showed on Sunday night against the Bears that they are just a dynamic duo that's pretty impossible to stop if you get them going early.
Yeah, I think, honestly, A.J. Dillon, for the rest of at least the regular season, probably going to be the main ball carrier for the Green Bay Packers, and it'll be Aaron Jones sprinkled in on third down, sprinkled in maybe some pass-catching situations. I think those roles will reverse here for the end of the season, possibly to allow Aaron Jones to continue to get a little healthier, and also possibly because in the cold and snowy conditions, maybe A.J. Dillon is a slightly better runner of the football. So that'll be interesting to watch. Lamar's ankle, obviously a big storyline here. I do think that is already baked into the number. I don't think it'll move very much either way if he is in or out. I think they're kind of expecting, hey, we're going to get Lamar, but probably only 75% of Lamar, We're going to get a pretty beat-up version here. And it's definitely going to limit his scrambling ability and possibly force him to throw a little more from the pocket. So I think I like the -5 early, Higgins. Obviously, as COVID news comes out throughout the week and other injury updates, we'll have to follow. But I think the logic looks good by the time we're recording this.
If you are listening to this in the future and Jordan Love is starting, not Aaron Rodgers, do not take this line. I will just say that.
Do not take it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we gotta keep our eye on his toe. Oy, oy, oy. It just doesn't stop, Higgins.
By the way, did you see the Pat McAfee and A.J. Hawk joking around with him about potentially going to the Steelers?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Well, A.J. Hawk said something on their airwaves, and Pat was like, AJ, you can't say that. Like, they'll take that seriously. And Aaron, leaned into the joke and it's like, huh. Aaron potentially did want to leave Green Bay before Ben might be on his way out. Who knows?
There you
I mean,
go.
that would be an interesting landing spot.
Very, very interesting.
Well, Brett, we've come to the end of this episode. There's no NBA lines because we had such a big Wednesday game slate. So just the pick of the pod, Levy lock going on right now. And Brett, we're going to do something interesting because since you did not make a pick here, would you like to give a Levy lockout on our social media?
Yeah, I'll do that, Higgins. I'll make sure I get on that this Sunday, give out my favorite football bet for the weekend. But I'll also say my Levy lock is COVID stinks and will probably ruin one of your fantasy football playoff matchups. So that is my Levy lock, minus 8,000. A fantasy football playoff game you are involved in will be ruined by some last-minute COVID problem.
And my pick of the pod, other than it being someone's going to forget to put Jonathan Taylor into their fantasy lineup because he's playing on Saturday instead of Sunday, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But in that same game, I am taking Patriots money line plus 125. It's not often that you get the Patriots this late in the season as money line dogs. It's not often that the Patriots on a 7-game win streak you get as dogs. And it's not often Bill Belichick coming off of a bye you get as a dog. So for all those reasons, give me Patriots on the money line. I think they're going to head in on Saturday and come out with a win.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, Higgins. I like that bet.
Make sure to follow us on social media. Like we said, Brett's going to give out his Sunday Levy lock with his best football play of the day as we get closer to game times. I mean, COVID does suck. You're right. So we got to get closer to game time for some of these picks. Absolutely.
Higgins, I give you a lot of credit, man. You went out. You said, let me get a read on some of these early lines. I said, Higgins, I need as much information as possible to make these bets. I need to be informed down to the minute. So, look, 2 different ways to attack the COVID slate here, Higgins, like we talked about at the top. And, you're trying to beat the book. I'm playing it the cautious way. I don't care if the book has the right line. I'm hoping I know who's on the field, who I'm betting on.
Well, make sure to follow us on social media to get Brett's picks. That's at MBBpod on Twitter, at NextBestBet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. And make sure to come back for the next episode to see whose strategy worked out. The guy that got the early lines or the one that waited for the COVID test results. This has been episode 183 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again after the weekend.